Јас сум Борјан Јовановски, а со мене денеска во Европскиот парламент е Дејвид Мекалистер, председател на Комисијата за надворешна политика на Европскиот парламент. Mr. McAllister, thank you for accepting the invitation for this interview. You are expecting the new team of the European Commission. There will be hearings soon. What can we expect as candidate countries? What could be the new impetus from the new composition of the European Parliament first, second, new composition of the European Commission in regards to the quality of the process of enlargement? Can we believe that this time it will somehow move from the kind of a zero game point?
Ursula von der Leyen has presented the Commission as designate and the new structure of the Commission. We are now here in the European Parliament preparing the hearings. For enlargement policy, there will be a twofold responsibility. On the one hand, Kaja Kallas, the High Representative Vice President, who has the entire overview. And then specifically for the enlargement process, we have the Slovenian candidate, Marta Kos. We are now preparing her hearing on the 7th of November, and then we will see how things evolve. In general, if you look at the political guidelines and the mission letters Ursula von der Leyen has formulated, she wants the enlargement policy to play a central role in the next 5 years, and the European Parliament will put, the European Commission will put particular emphasis on strengthening the resilience of candidate countries. The rule of law and the fundamentals will play an important role. It will be about reconciliation, about better neighborly relations and trying to resolve bilateral disputes. And finally, it will be about communicating the advantages of EU enlargement better to the citizens in the respective candidate countries, but also at home in the 27 EU member states. So enlargement policy will play an important role, and I do hope that we can move things forward.
A previous wave of enlargement, we know there was a date when, it was promised that country will finish the process and they will enter. Could we expect this time from you, the European Parliament, to ask the European Commission or European Council in order to give a clearer perspective of what could happen, what was their future in the European integration?
The rules are very clear. A candidate country can join the European Union when the candidate country has met all the necessary criteria, the entire Copenhagen criteria, politically, financially, economically, and in other terms. That means when a candidate country is ready, then the European Union has to decide whether this country can join our family of nations or not. That's why I don't believe it makes much sense to name a date. It's more about a process where each country is individually assessed how it is progressing as regards the Copenhagen criteria. So this applies to North Macedonia like to all other Western Balkan countries. Once the country is ready, then the country should join.
Well, how do you explain the case of North Macedonia? North Macedonia is right now stuck. We were in a package together with Albania due to some geopolitical circumstances that are well known, but the Council decided to split Albania from North Macedonia. So Albania goes, Macedonia is still stuck. What are the consequences? How do you explain the Macedonian case?
I was never convinced to create artificial accession packages like the one with North Macedonia and Albania, because we always argue each country has to be assessed individually. This is a merit-based process. So how can you then put two countries together? When it comes to North Macedonia, talks started in 2005. It's now 19 years.
That's why I'm asking. It's a very specific case. Right?
This is a long, long time, and I fully understand the disappointment and the frustrations in North Macedonia, especially the Prespa agreement. I know exactly how difficult it was to push the Prespa agreement through. And in the end, that was a remarkable achievement. And then we had Greeks supporting NATO and EU membership for North Macedonia. And then once again, things developed in a different way. President Macron presented his new enlargement methodology, and further time was lost. The situation is as follows. Every single step in the enlargement process requires unanimity in the Council. We have the request coming from the Council that a change of constitution in North Macedonia is a prerequisite to move forward now. That's why the government in Skopje needs to work on this, especially to continue the not easy talks with the government in Bulgaria, how we can solve this matter. I want things to progress. I welcome that the screening process was finalized in December last year. And I'm very sure, despite Albania now starting with the first cluster, that at a later stage North Macedonia can catch up. I strongly believe that North Macedonia would be a real added value for the European Union. Great country, great people, and that's why we also have to work on our promises we made as European Union towards North Macedonia.
Because you understand that the people of North Macedonia, they feel in a way betrayed from the European Union, fulfilling what was the very request in the very beginning, which was a Prespa agreement. So, you know, the new government, which is, by the way, part of your political family, EPP, they are asking now for some guarantee that there will be no new surprises, if I may say, during the process of negotiation, which will, again, block Macedonia with some another unusual conditions.
Well, I think that's understandable after the surprises that occurred after the Prespa agreement. I think any government in Skopje is interested in having clarity. Predictability is of key importance for all players in the entire enlargement process. And having a critical look at some of our member states, indeed, we didn't always deliver on our promises. And that's why we now have this situation, which is well known to every citizen in North Macedonia, that we have this council decision, which requires a constitutional change in North Macedonia, and the North Macedonian government and the North Macedonian parliament. I call on them to continue working on this. We know what's at stake, but one thing is clear. North Macedonia deserves full support. This was the case for the previous government. This is the case for the new government. I want to move things forward because all 6 Western Balkan countries have a European perspective, and North Macedonia has already made an important step on its Euro-Atlantic integration path by already joining NATO.
Do you consider to discuss the issue within the EPP group, having in mind that your EPP partner in Bulgaria is Boyko Borisov is also the very important factor there. In North Macedonia, we have Mr. Mitskovsky and his VMRO government. Could you arrange something within the family?
The European People's Party has been and will be the driving force for enlargement. Throughout the last 20 years, people know that the EPP has always been at the forefront, and we will continue to move things forward. I believe that the European Union is not complete without the Western Balkan countries. And now also Ukraine and Moldova are on their path towards joining the European Union. A stronger and larger European Union is not only beneficial for the enlargement countries, it's also in our own interest. We cannot allow grey zones in our enlargement policy. We want the entire Western Balkan region, which is surrounded by EU member countries from Greece to Croatia, to eventually join our bloc. And of course, North Macedonia will play an important role. North Macedonia is an important country in the Western Balkans, and we will discuss this within the member states, within the Commission, within the European Parliament, and of course also in the European People's Party. And we have the special challenge that on the one hand we have the GER party from Bulgaria in our ranks, and on the other hand the ruling party of North Macedonia. And I am in good contact with both sides, and I call on both sides, let's work on a compromise, let's work on a solution that in the end can make things move forward, because I believe it's in the interest of all EU's member states that North Macedonia succeeds.
Do you think that you could assure something that the Prime Minister Mickoski needs some changes within a conditionality in regards to the Bulgarian minority, and postpone eventually the entering in force what will be done with the changing of the constitutions? Any concession that could allow Mickoski to say, okay, now I did something finally. I mean, we are different from the previous government, because that was their campaign, that's how they get the election.
This is not up to the European Parliament to decide. This is the job of the member states, and I'm very sure that the government in North Macedonia is in political talks with the Council, with the member states, and also with the Commission. We will have the hearing of Commissioner-designate Ms. Kors on the 7th of November, and I can imagine that perhaps within these 3 hours question and answer sessions, Commissioner-designate Kors will also get questions how we can move things forward as regards North Macedonia. But once again, this is not up to the European Parliament to decide. We have been very clear as European Parliament across party lines that we want to support the enlargement process and that we want to unblock the situation with North Macedonia. We have been waiting for quite some time.
We are not in you are not in easy relations with your former member of the family, Orban, and his Fidesz, but Mr. Mickoski has a very close relation with Orban. Are you afraid that maybe Mickoski will left EPP and join the new political family that Orban is trying to arrange, to compose?
I'm convinced that the new government in Skopje, just like the previous government, knows how important it is for North Macedonia to move forward on the EU accession track. The future of North Macedonia lies in a united Europe, and EU membership will be at the end of the process. We all know it's hard work to join the European Union. The enlargement process will take some time, but I think we should really start to move things forward now. And in the meantime, what we need to do in the next few years is to gradually integrate the Western Balkan countries, including North Macedonia, into the single market and also into EU programs, so that the citizens of North Macedonia realize what concrete benefits it brings when you are on your way to joining the European Union. For the European Union, we definitely need to better communicate the advantages of EU membership, not only to our citizens at home, but also to the citizens, the stakeholders, the organizations, the institutions in North Macedonia. That is the one point I want to make. And when it comes to the 27 member states, well, we see at the case of Bulgaria, we sometimes see in the case of Hungary, we sometimes see in the case of Slovakia or other member states that in certain policy fields, including in foreign affairs, we need the unanimous decisions of 27 member states in the Council. That sometimes makes it a bit more challenging, but that's how the rules are. And Mr. Orban himself, he and the Fidesz party are for a long, long time now no longer in the EPP. They have now founded a new political movement. They are sitting in the Patriots for Europe faction here in the European Parliament. They are a totally different political family. They belong to the right-wing, ultra-populist radicals, and the EPP does not cooperate actively with the Patriots for Europe.
And a last question, what could we expect from the U.S. election, if Trump wins, what is going to change for Europe, besides the fact that Orban will become a very close ally to United States?
Well, we in Europe will not decide the
Yeah.
US elections on the 5th of November. It's up to the American people, and we will accept both outcomes of the elections. Kamala Harris is well known in the European Union. I think we know better what we would expect if she becomes president. But if it's Mr. Trump, we already know what it was like the first 4 years. And I think it's fair to say that unpredictability is perhaps the best term to coin the foreign policy of Mr. Trump. We, as a European Union, are very much interested in the closest possible transatlantic relations. The United States are for us our most important trading partner, a rock-solid NATO ally. The United States guarantee our security, and that means our liberty in Europe. And we will continue to work on strengthening the transatlantic relations, regardless of whom will be sitting in the White House. One thing is clear, both future US presidents, either Ms. Harris or Mr. Trump, will expect us in Europe to do more for our own security and defense. Kamala Harris will probably present this in a more diplomatic way. Mr. Trump will probably present this in a less diplomatic way.
In his way.
In his own way, as we know what he's like. But one thing is clear, we in Europe have to do more for our own security and defense. And this means concretely strengthening the European pillar within the NATO framework. And also we urgently need to do more on better coordinating European defense industry. That means joint procurement and joint research when it comes to defense weapon systems and others. This will be key, and only if we have joint military equipment, joint weapon systems, joint ships, fighter planes, tanks, if we develop these projects together, only then can we do concrete steps toward integrated European forces, which I still believe should be the mid and long-term goal of us Europeans.
Mr. Дејвид Мекалистер, thank you very much for this interview. Тоа беше Дејвид Мекалистер, претседавач на Комисијата за надворешна политика во интервјуто овде во Европскиот парламент во Брисел. Ви благодарам за вниманието и до гледање.